Hey guys, today's video is going to be part 2 of my bumper and tire carrier build. If you're new here, welcome to the channel and don't forget to subscribe. You know what, I actually think I'm going to go ahead and use my cheap Harbor Freight chop saw that really sucks and barely cuts. If you haven't seen part 1, go ahead and finish this video through, or you can go back and watch it right now, but I'll go ahead and put a link at the end of this video. Where I left off in my last video was everything was kind of tacked together and my hitch was kind of in place. Since then, I have welded my shackles on permanently, as well as done some more welding on my bumper brackets themselves. But I have figured out how I want to do my hitch, and I'm going to do that right now. So on this front portion of the bumper, where it meets the hitch, what I'm going to do is go ahead and give myself a nice bead right here in the front, as well as in the back. Now I am going to keep it from being too thick of a bead because I'm going to be sticking a piece of angle iron here and then welding that in place as well. So now that I've got myself a nice small bead right there, the next thing that I'm going to do is take some of my angle iron here. But I'm going to go ahead and cut a piece out the same width as my hitch steel, and I'm going to weld it right there in that corner. Now my bead is just a little bit big, so I am going to have to do some grinding just to knock down that edge, but I'm going to go ahead and cut some stuff out, the perfect size to fit right there, tack it, see how it looks, and then burn it in place. I'm actually going to go ahead and cut my angle iron at 2 inches. It's 2.5 inches overall, but I think that that'll give me a nice place. It should end right as the hitch steel starts to round off. So it'll give me a nice place to give myself a good bead right there. You know what? I actually think I'm going to go ahead and use my cheap Harbor Freight chop saw that really sucks and barely cuts, but I think it'll work fine for my angle iron here. I'm beginning to think I need a better quality chop saw. Most definitely. That took forever, and it is not a straight cut whatsoever. So I think I could do a better job by hand. So I'm going to go ahead and put my cutoff wheel in my grinder and go ahead and knock these down. Oh, I forgot the question of the day. So question of the day today is, what is your favorite 4x4 vehicle, past or present? Don't necessarily have to have had one. Just if you could pick any four-wheel drive from any time frame, what would it be and why? Go ahead and leave your answer down in the comment section below. Alright, my angle is cut. I had to grind just a little bit on my weld there. And it's not a perfect fit, but I think it'll work. It's not going to look super pretty, but I think I'm going to be having my latches mount right here as well. So it'll all be kind of tucked in right there and be kind of hidden together. I don't know. I think it's going to look great no matter what I do because I built it and it's going to be mine. So I'm going to go ahead and get these burned in place and then move on to the next thing I'm going to be putting on for this hitch. So with that angle iron in place, the last thing that I'm going to do to this hitch is I'm going to run a strap off the bottom of the bumper, wrap it underneath the hitch, and then back to the bumper, and it'll be a nice strap that goes across here. It'll help support it, but it will also give myself a place to hook chains to when towing. And this is just some 1.5 by 1/4 I had laying around. This is what I'm going to use. And honestly, I like using the 1.5 rather than the 2-inch strap because for the same reason I cut my angle iron at 2-inch, this 1.5 here sits just at the top of the radius of this rounded edge here. That way it's a nice surface right here. I can just weld, and not have to worry about filling any gaps or rounding that edge. It should just look clean. Now I just need to figure out a roundabout how long I want it to be. Now with this, I'm trying to keep in mind that I might want to use a high lift jack right here. So I don't want to come too far over because that limits the surface area I have to place my jack. So I'm going to try to come over almost to the midway point, back across and almost to the midway point. So if that is 11.5 inches to center right there, I'm going to go ahead and cut this out at 23 inches, make 11.5 my center, and try to line that up on the center of the hitch and have it weld, fold, weld. Perfect. Alright, so I have my 23-inch piece, and I'm going to go ahead and mark center. And then I'm also going to mark center of my hitch here, which should be, in theory, 1.25 inches. So now, because if I were to just fold this down, it would leave quite a bow and it would be under a tremendous amount of stress. I'm going to try to go ahead and pre-bend this a little bit, right out to the outer edge. Hopefully I can get it done. We will see. Bear with me. I'm going to give it a shot. I think that's actually going to look really good. I'm going to try for this side here. Oops, too much. Get it tacked, get it tacked, see how it looks, burn it in. Actually really excited. Alright, now I just need to move on to a little cleanup, and the hitch is done. So I am done for the night. Tomorrow I'm going to go ahead and stick this on the Jeep and see about where I need my hinges to sit. So the next thing I'm going to work on is where my hinge is going to sit for my tire carrier. Now, because I'm going to be doing a dual swing, I'm going to repeat this step on the opposite side, and I'm just going to try to make everything perfectly matched up. Now, looking at this, I personally feel like it looks best kind of centered on the taillight here. So I'm going to go ahead and try to center this up, measure where it needs to be. So I'm sitting at about 1.25 inches right there. We're going to call it 1.25 inches to the outer edge of my tubing here. So now that I know that I want it to be 1.25 inches or 1.25 inches from this outer edge here. So now looking at these sleeves, they are 2.25 inches wide. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and split that in half, add my 1.25 inches, measure that from the very edge, and that should give me my center line for my tire carrier hinge. And with that, we should be sitting at 2.375. And that little scribe there is now my center line. And I'm going to go ahead and repeat that on both sides and on the bottom as well. Alright, so now that they're all marked, I'm going to go ahead and center punch these and drill them out, working my way up to 1/4 inch first. So now that I've got my 1/4 inch pilot hole drilled, I know that my shaft right here is 1.25 inches in diameter. So what I'm going to do is take my 1.25 inch hole saw and open up this 1/4 inch hole to 1.25 inches. Now for the holes on the bottom, I'm not going to open it up all the way. I'm just going to go about 3/4 inch. And the reason for that is that way this slides down through the top hole, rests on the bottom of the inside of the tubing. That way I can weld the bottom to it. It'll keep it from sliding down as I'm trying to work with it, as well as I know that the left and the right side will be the same height. It'll also keep it up high enough that I can get just a little bit of weld in here underneath where the seal is supposed to be for this. Now I do kind of wish that I would raise it up just a little bit, but I don't see any way that I can raise it up and have it still be structurally sound. So I'm going to go ahead and get my holes opened up even larger and then start tacking this in place. Perfect. Now my only concern is I need to try to keep my weld down low. And the reason why I need to keep my weld down low is there is a seal that sits right here. So I'm going to try to keep it from hitting that seal. So I guess the worst thing that can happen is I end up welding into that seal surface and I got to kind of reshape it. But we're going to go ahead and stick with what we got. I'm actually getting really excited. Whew. Okay. Anyway, so I'm going to get this kind of tacked where it needs to be, flip it over, and weld the bottom, flip it back over, take a nice, easy time carefully welding the top. So I'm actually going to tack it through the end first. I think that that'll make things a lot easier on me. So I would say, other than a little bit of spatter that went up the spindle shaft, that those turned out okay. And I'm still going to be able to get my seal right about here, I think is where it sits. So something I meant to mention before I even installed any of this, I actually ordered these spindle kits off of Amazon. They are from EMS Off-Road. These kits are amazing. I was doing a bunch of research on what I wanted to do, and I came down to one of two options. One was a Dana 44 hub, or the hub and spindle for a trailer. I was watching some videos where guys were cutting the rest of the hub off of the trailer hub and using the spindles just like this. And I thought that that would be great and solid, and that is when I came across this kit on Amazon. It comes with a machine spindle as well as this machine sleeve here. And instead of two pieces of pipe being slid together, this kit actually uses bearings. So I never have to worry about this. It'll work great, last a long time. It's rock solid. If you guys want to check out these, I'll go ahead and put links down in the description below. So I'm almost finished with the bumper, and now I just kind of want to make things look semi-decent. I want to be able to fill this gap here, as well as I think I'm going to notch this a little bit, just to kind of make it look better. And also, I'm trying to decide what to do about this major area right here. I don't really like the way it looks, the way it's open like this. I know it's not going to be that noticeable once the tire carrier is actually in place, but personally, I want to do something about that. Now, in order to fill this gap here, I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and cut out some more of this 2x4 tubing. Now, I know that this should be about a 6-inch gap. I'm going to go ahead and remeasure it, but all I'm going to do is subtract about a 1/4 inch, cut some 2x4 tubing, and see how it fits in there. So originally I was thinking maybe do something like this here, but I want to kind of match my body line a little bit to make it a little bit better, you know, make it look better. But what I was thinking from there was, if I tilt this just like that, it will match my body line better, and I could cut this at an angle, and I feel like that would fit better here, but that gives me a problem right here because it just doesn't look good. So what I think I'm going to do is weld this up right here just like that, flat, just like that there. I'll notch it back here, and then what I can do is come down halfway and then come down at a 30-degree angle to match this, because this is roughly 30-degree difference if this here is 0. It'll also give me a place to drill holes for a locking pin. That way when my tire swing is swung all the way open, I can have a hole here to lock it in place so that it'll lock it all the way open. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And then later down the road, I can always put some sheet metal here just to make it look clean, because it's probably going to bug me. So I'm going to go ahead and get this kind of notched, set it up here, line it up, and get it tacked in place. Yeah. Oh, also, this is just some scrap I had laying around. I didn't want to cut that new stick because it's a good length, and I might be able to use it for like a stubby later. I don't know. So this is some scrap I had laying around. Don't mind the rest. So I've been trying to think of everything else I want to do before I bring it back to my bench. Now, I'm not a big fan of trying to sit out here and tack everything in place as I go. I'm a measure 80 times, figure it out, mount it, put it in place, and hope it works kind of guy. So what I'm thinking is, I know that I need to fill this major gap here, not only so that it'll look better, but it'll actually give you a place to set like a drink or something like that when you're back here. It'll also keep things from falling in between when I'm getting stuff in and out of the back of the Jeep here. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to go ahead and sheath this all the way across. Now, I don't necessarily want to use anything heavy, and the only flat stock I have that'll take up that whole space, I would have to cut it out of some 3/16 steel, and that's just adding a whole bunch of unnecessary weight. So I have a rough idea of how I'm going to do things, and I'm really excited to share with you guys how I'm going to do it. But instead of telling you, I'm just going to show you as I go along. So I know that if I fill this gap with a piece that's about 4 1/4 inches long, it should fit perfect when I put it all back together here. That way I can just go ahead and figure out how I want to do it on the bench and not right here. Also, to help everything kind of look more aesthetically pleasing, I am going to notch my corners to try to match my body line a little better, just on the ends, and then we'll see how things go from there. It's almost complete. I could probably finish it tonight with the exception of filling the gap in between this tubing and the bottom of my tail light. Now, I might think about it a little bit more, I don't know, but I got some lights that might actually fit there, and I can point them sideways and they will be nice and bright. I haven't decided yet, so I do think I'm going to keep that area open and decide at a later time. I mean, I can always be finished with this, paint it, and then just grind that spot down and weld something there later if I want to. So I'm going to go ahead and get this out of here, get it back on the bench, and put all my finishing touches. Now, before I go ahead and plate this all the way across, there's just a couple of things I want to clean up first. I have a weld over here that I'm not too happy about. Right in here where I've made this cut, I don't like how my cut kind of goes a little bit deep right here. So what I'm going to do is take some scrap from when I notched these out, go ahead and plate it right here, and weld it all the way around. It'll help fill those cuts, as well as just give it a little bit more structure right here and kind of tie it in. And it will help disperse the load a little bit more, having a good transition from here to here. So while I'm doing that, I'm also going to go ahead and set up the structure for my plate here. Now, I'm just going to take some angle iron, stick it on this inside edge, stick it on this inside edge here. That way it just kind of gives me a little shelf for my plate to sit. So I'm just going to be using some old bed rail I got here. Use that on the inside, run it all the way along. Kind of space it out, run it here and there along the edge, and then also on my brackets on the sides. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut out my pieces real quick and move on from there. And now for the fun part. What am I going to put right in here? Well, I think that I'm just going to go ahead and use the original bumper, cut the top off of it, slap it in here, and I think that'll work great. It'll fit. It has that plastic piece on it that'll fit up against the body. I think that it will work and it will look good. So I'm going to go ahead and bring it up here, mark it out, and plasma cutter. I'm really excited for this thing to be done. I'm stoked. I so badly wanted this bumper to be done tonight that I got in a rush and started cutting corners, and now I don't think I'm going to be able to use the old bumper. I'm probably going to have to scrap that whole idea and figure something else out. I'm really bummed. I thought it was a great idea, but now it is what it is. Also, unfortunately, it is Friday night. I take it back. It is early Saturday morning. I still need to sleep, and Saturday is my day to edit and play Mario Kart with my boys, and my videos post Sunday. So unfortunately, I think I'm done for this video. I really wanted to just try to keep this in 4 parts, 2 for the bumper, 2 for the tire carrier. I'm going to see if I can still do that, but I don't know. I'm exhausted. Anyway, if you like this video, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. As always, don't forget to subscribe. You can check me out on Instagram at It's Project Venture, as well as the Tickety Talk at It's Project Venture. If you do decide to go over to my Instagram or my TikTok, I do post things that I do not post on this channel, so don't forget to go check it out. Anyway, I'm signing off. See ya.